I am so happy to have you here and introduce my wonderful community to this wonderful human being.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Shari Biery is an extraordinary person. Her book, I'm going to show it to you. Her book is extraordinary, and we'll tell you more about it. But I want to tell you how I got to meet Shari. So first of all, let me see if we're at the right level. We are. I didn't check it, but I did a podcast where I'm here and the other person, and I never looked. So I think we're okay, right?
It
Okay.
looks great. You're
All right.
beautiful too.
I have to remind myself. So Sherry has written a book called It's Your Turn. And there's something deeply moving about her work on many levels for me. But if I were to choose one person in this extraordinary group where I met her, who was the most giving, most supportive person in the group, it would have been Sherry. But hands down, she doesn't know this. But anytime someone needed a little extra support, and I don't mean overgiving, there's some people who want to help, and a particular person who, when you didn't even want help, she was offering help. That's not the help I'm talking about. When I'm talking about when you need someone to stand with you, when you need someone to stand behind you, when you need someone to be available, when you need someone to write a review for you or endorse your book or ask you what do you need. It was always Sherry who showed up for people. And it wasn't just the people in her clique or her pod or the ones you knew. It was anyone. That's how big her heart is. But also, it was mindful. It wasn't like this person. I mean, I even last week somebody wanted to help me. I said, actually, I don't need that. I had to stop her from helping me. We're always aware when the help is attuned. It's an offering, not a needing. So the book to me is about, just like the title, how do you know when it's your turn? So I could see that Sherry was good at giving, but I could also see how that was so easy and she was so skilled, how she ended up in a place. Tell us about the place that you wrote from. What happened to you to make you to birth this book, and what does it mean that it's your turn?
Your sweet words make me cry listening to that. It really came down to I felt so unseen. And in the moment, it was so I was a military spouse for 20 years. My husband retired from the Navy in 2018. And at his retirement ceremony, he handed me the American flag, gave me a kiss, and said, "It's your turn." Because he had known that I had, for those 20 years, been putting the mission, his career, the kids, everybody else ahead of my own needs. And I think as women, we always do that anyway. And in this particular situation, I had, you were talking about overgiving. I was an overgiver for a very long time, to the point of we can always add so much goodness into our world, but when we do it at the expense of our own health or our own well-being, we feel that exhaustion that comes in, that what about me? The resentment builds up. And that was really my moment when he handed me the American flag. I was also like in the throes of menopause and perimenopause and menopause, and I look back now and there were a lot of clues along the way that my body was trying to tell me, but it was like, keep going. You just need to get through this next thing, and then there'll be a time to rest. It was always that procrastination of not taking my turn that led me kind of in that health state of having symptoms that I couldn't explain. And now I know, at the time, looking back at it all, it was my stress that was adding fuel to the fire of my symptoms of perimenopause and menopause that was going on. And so just kind of, that was where the book was really, it was actually the whole movement of It's Your Turn kind of started then, but it really didn't become a book until actually at one of the retreats we were at together. It was the very first one I attended. And I tell this, I have interviewed Tracy. Tracy lives as a service spouse to her husband, works for the State Department. And she came up to me when I kind of stood up. I wasn't sure if I was going to write this book, but I knew what my mission was: to help women realize it's okay to take your turn. And how we get there looks different for all of us. But just being able, I realized when my husband handed me that American flag and said, "It's your turn," it wasn't his permission that I needed. I needed to give permission to myself. And there were lots of beliefs and everything that kind of society, the way the views are of how, as a military spouse, I was supposed to, in my head, be. And I think as a woman, we get there. But Tracy came up during that conference or that retreat, and we both tell this story. She came up to me. We didn't know each other, and after I'd kind of declared this is what I really want to birth here, is she came up and she was crying, and we hugged, not even really knowing each other. And she said, "Please write the book. I need that book."
Mhm.
And I realized in all of this, writing the book, as we both know, writing a book is not the easiest thing to do at times. But I just kept thinking of Tracy every time. Of I did this for Tracy and the many women like her who
Mhm.
have a hard time giving themselves permission, just like I did in the very beginning.
Yes. Okay. So you got around to what I was going to ask you, but I want to amplify it. So earlier you said I didn't feel seen.
Hmm.
And that sounds like nobody saw you. And that might be true because it's taken for granted that you're the support and that you do everything. You move, you pack, you unpack, you find the schools, you get everybody settled. All these things are part of your job. And it's true. When a man joins the military or one part of a partnership joins the military, the other partner is also in service, and this is their job. But there are two things about that. Uh, you came around to I wasn't seeing myself.
Hmm. Yeah.
I was missing myself. So especially when we hurt and we feel we might start with other people aren't seeing us. It starts with we're not seeing ourselves because if we are seeing ourselves, we're not actually looking for anyone else that's kind of the substitute.
Mhm.
That's the payoff if someone sees it. But that's what's missing. And you said uh, most women or all women do this. And you're right, it's a stereotype and true, but a lot of this community are Enneagram people. And so I took the book this morning again when I was reading it. I haven't made it all the way through, and I will because it's that good. But I took the Enneagram just as a quick aside so that people who are Enneagram followers can take what Shari is saying, and if you're not in the military and you're not a spouse, you can see how it applies to maybe you too. Just out of curiosity, I went through the Enneagram. There are 9 types, and I said, well, let me see how many would focus inside on their needs and take their turn. Would you agree, Shari, who's this huge giver, that it has to be taken? It's an inside job first, right? Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes,
And so
absolutely.
it's like you said, mindset. It has, I always, when I use the word take, I always use the example. I'm not sure it's effective, but I love it. I say you can put milk in a baby's mouth, but for them to thrive, they have to actually take the milk. They have to suck it and keep it down. And
Hmm.
I try to make it holy. Taking has a bad rap. You're taking as though you're taking too much. It's not honored in this world. And I know you do a lot to
Hmm.
turn that around in this gorgeous book. But I went back to how many Enneagrams of the 9, how many of these types don't take their turn. And it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 types don't. The achiever, the number 3, you could say they take it, but they take it only as achievement. They
Hmm.
don't take it for the nurturance and the beingness. So they could be figured in either types. It looks like they're taking it, they're spending time on their next step. But is it for the inside or is it for the outside? So if you include that, that would be 6 types. One, if you think of perfectionists who are not zoning in on their inner needs, but are doing it to be good and to be right, they're not following. A 5 who is following thoughts is missing their heart and emotions. A 6 is following their fears and not their inner being and their divine direction. A 9 is not following their inner direction. They're being safe and disappearing to be safe. A 2 is helping others and missing themselves. And then we mentioned the 3. So then you have only 3 left who say yes to themselves. But look at the awkward way that if you're one of these 3, the yes comes across. So a 7 is looking like they're having fun, they're doing what pleases them, but are they avoiding the pain? So
Hmm.
are there not actually, it looks like a lot of giving to myself, a lot of indulgence, but it's in the service of avoidance. So
Hmm.
maybe not. Then we have 4s who are very indulgent of their feelings, but they're missing, their feelings aren't everything.
Hmm.
So now we have something missing there. And then for 8s is the only one left. They look to take action on their own behalf, but it's in the service of missing their vulnerability, of not being vulnerable. So I just want to make it clear that whatever your type, if you've been through the Enneagram with me, and that's why you're here, there's something for you in Shari's programs, and she's got so many levels. You can go to her website and really have a feast. There's so many ways to be involved with Shari, and she can say some more in the end. But you can learn a lot really on her website, and then I know you'll want to buy the book because they're both really, really compelling.
Mm.
And so how do you respond, Sherry, to all those ways of not seeing your full self?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That was so beautifully described, especially with the Enneagram. And it's funny, I haven't taken it in a while, but I definitely have threes, and I know my wings are like a five and a seven. And so when you were explaining some of those, it's definitely, there was something that happened, and it was shortly before my husband had retired. And I write about it in the book. And it goes to the point of what you're saying. We have to really believe in our, or like do the inner work. Was I was at a car dealership, and I had the car worked on, and it was just me. And I went to check out with the gentleman who had helped me. And I said, "Oh, by the way, do you give military discounts? Because that's a common thing to ask, because we were in a military town."
Yep.
And he said, "Oh, we do, but you're just the spouse."
Oh, God.
And that was like, that is when I really heard just,
Mhm.
like a just. And I was like, just. And it was the first time I had
Wow.
ever really responded to somebody saying that. And it's something that really gets me when I hear people say, "I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I'm just, you know, an admin assistant. I'm just," and I always stop people because I'm like, you're diminishing yourself.
Yes.
I was doing that. And so in that light of reflection, of course I said to him, "Just?"
Yeah,
And,
I agree.
and he didn't know what to do at that point. But that was the first time I stood up for myself, and I realized I wasn't upset with him. I was upset with myself for believing that for so long. And
Mhm.
that that's where the work really had to begin too. It's, we could want all of these things for ourselves. We want a good, a good healthy body. We want, to be able to go on, be in our communities helping one another. But if we don't give value to our own self and kind of pour into ourselves of needing what we need first.
How do you do that? So I know in the book and in your credentials, you have many methods, and Sherry's going to give us a gifted that'll be in the email of a meditation, which I just did just to see what it was. And it's very relaxing and can help a person embody, like slow down, which is a big point that Sherry makes. We want to have all these things, but we want to keep going, 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 and it doesn't happen that way. You can't be aware and be on a compulsive doing. But if, a lot of your words, and we discussed this when you were writing the book, whether you should say claim or reclaim. Because I was always there saying, hey, I know women who've never had it. And we're
Mhm.
talking about reclaiming who you were before you were married to a military spouse. And
Mhm.
everything you say about being in the military is 100% true. I just want to honor my daughter, our daughter Melissa's best friend, Ida, who, did you ever meet Ida? I sent her to you. Yeah.
I have never had a chance to meet her, but I know we had talked
Yeah,
about her.
and
Yeah.
and Ida has lived everything that you're talking about. It's
Mhm.
100% true. And thank you, Ida. I know she'll listen to this. Thank you for being Melissa's bestie. It meant a lot to Melissa. So I do want to know, how does someone who's never owned her own worth, who's never listened to herself, never honored herself, who's been other directed, how in the world, if that's me, can I find it? Like,
Yeah.
how do I begin?
Yeah. Yeah. I it ta- you know, for me it was and in many cases, it's like we think it's a lot of different things, and we think it's something big and huge, and we break it down to being like, who do you want to be? Like we have
But
to,
how do I know I deserve to be anyone? Let's role play.
okay.
So I come into you, and some things have happened to me, Sherry, in the world that have made me face something I would say is ugly.
Hmm.
It's that I actually don't feel worthy. I feel like I have to prove I'm good enough, like accomplish things and have people show me that I'm worthy. And I know about my family and the alcoholism and all that stuff,
Hmm.
but here I am, and I don't I don't actually believe I get to have a turn, in your words, unless I get better, like improve myself.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
stuck.
Yeah. I think it goes back to, and this is where it's like peeling that onion, right? We have
So
to get,
talk to me. I'm this
get,
person. Sherry, what am
yeah.
I going to do?
Yeah. It's just, the one thing that I really, when we have a coaching call or when I have a client like that, like what you're describing, is we really start to talk about like at the core essence and I believe in God, so it's who did God create you to be, and not from a pushy religious aspect, but
So talk
higher
to me. Talk to
power.
me. Tell me.
So who did God create you to be, Rosalind, in this world, when you really really turn down all the noise, if you could think about who you really wanted to be, to show yourself that you are worthy of this.
Oh, I want to be worthy. I don't know what God created me to be. I feel I have to be better to be worthy. I have to be different. Maybe I have to find what God wanted me to be because I don't know.
Yeah. And so, in that, I love that you're saying you get to explore and be curious as to what that looks like.
Can
And
that be my first step? Is that
yeah.
good enough? Is that enough? Or do people actually find it like that?
Mm. No, I think it is something that comes with time. And, I hear this a lot. I just want want to drive through the McDonald's drive through and get it right away.
It
Whether
is it is not liking myself part of God?
I think that is the outside world making you, trying to convince you you're not good enough.
Oh. So are you saying that I believe something that's not true?
So I would ask you, what makes you, when you have these beliefs about yourself, where did those come from? Someone
I love
said
that
it
you're
to you?
calling it a belief. I love that you're calling it a belief. That does something. That does something because that gives me hope, Sherry,
Mhm.
that maybe it's not true. Maybe my verdict about myself that really closes everything off. I mean, that's why I don't take my turn
Mm,
because I think that's for the people who are better than me.
mm, yeah, yeah. I can see how worthiness gets tied into so much of what we do because we're in a doing world, an
Mm.
achievement world. People feel their value
Yeah,
when,
I'm good at doing. I take care of a lot of people. I
yep,
do it well.
yeah.
But But I guess even though I'm not in the military, my husband's not in the military, I kind of know what you're talking about. So
Mhm.
thank you. That was
Yeah.
good, Sherry. That was
Well,
good.
it's definitely one of those things, beliefs come from just how
Yeah.
we're experience the world, and our thoughts. Our thoughts drive everything, right?
And
They
we think they're true because we thought it, but we forget that we thought something else 5 minutes ago, and 5 minutes from now we'll think something else.
It's really interesting you bring this up because I worked with a mindset coach myself, and one of our first steps in just kind of working on dismantling some of the stuff that we say about ourselves is we had to like take 5 minutes in the morning and just kind of brain dump everything out what was going in out of our kind of running through our head and just like let it rip. Let all the stuff you say about yourself, all of that, that's very telling.
Mhm.
You can
Yeah.
usually tell. But what I loved about that exercise was we had to say, is that true?
Mhm.
Behind every sentence. And it was interesting because in my coaching clients, I had already adopted that of, is that true? That just
And
that
Byron
phrase.
Katie, do you know who Byron Katie is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
She's made a fortune out of living this. And it's older than she is. So
Yeah,
is it true? Do you absolutely know it's true? And then
yeah,
some other steps. But the
yeah.
turnaround is so important. But you probably don't get as many difficult people and so straight on as I role played. But I knew that we could demonstrate it better than
Yeah.
talking about it. And really, even though I write about beliefs myself and thoughts and feelings, when I was role playing, that was new to me. Like, oh, it's a belief, it's not true. And I think we all can revisit that all the time,
Yeah. Think
challenging
about
our thoughts,
yeah,
but
challenging
not
our
cheap.
thoughts in I love what you're saying here because there, I think it's chapter 5 where I say, what are all this awareness of what's slowing you down? And we say that, how many of us say this? I don't have time.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really a belief. Now, there it feels really true, right? But when we come down and really look at that, is it that we don't have time, or are we spending the time on what we really want to be spending our time on? And that's just, where we get to break down our priorities and look
Mhm.
at that. And I think that's important for all of us to revisit those things. It's not as you know, a set it and forget it kind of belief that gets anchored in there. I have all the time in the world. Like we get challenged by that all the time. And
If
so,
I would ask myself every day after my mentally make a to-do list, I don't write them anymore because I don't like them, but they're always
yeah.
in my head anyway. If I were to ask myself, is this the divine list? I would say,
Mm,
"Mm-mm."
yeah.
And then I would probably say, let's see. Let's
Yeah.
see what happens, what really happens from the list. I don't think the divine has a set of lists for us.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
I think also what you're saying is what I can extrapolate from the book so far is that it's everything. It's mind, it's body, it's heart,
Mhm.
it's living, you're having your doing reflect your mind, your values, your heart, and letting go the rest.
Mhm.
And and then letting it go, being really kind to ourselves, the way we let other people off the hook. Most of us that are going to read this book are not the narcissists who are, I think they're the minor, I think they're in the minority of the population that take everything for themselves first.
Mhm.
Sherry, do you know that when I ask a group of women, does anybody ever take the best piece of cake first? Almost nobody will.
Mm. Yeah.
Chocolates, you look at a box of chocolates, if unless you're not eating chocolates, there's always one or two that look better to you than the others. And most of the women who come to me would let someone else take that chocolate. And they
Yeah.
think there's a sort of talk about this. There's an indirect high from I'm a better person, or look how holy I am, or look how generous I am, or spiritual, or I let everyone else have the time first. What is that? Tell me about that.
Yeah. I don't, as far as, what is that? I don't know. When it comes to that kind of stuff, like really looking at that, I think it's more, or at least in my, and I'll only speak from me because I'm speaking this right now, kind of from my heart, is I think it's because I always have wanted to be that version of myself that
The Christian,
the
generous.
Chris yeah,
Yeah,
being the generous person, and that comes from my upbringing,
yeah.
like, living in a small rural community, it was always these values of helping your neighbor,
Mhm.
always put if they needed lending a hand kinda thing, and I think that trickles into wait your turn. How many times as a kid I heard, that you have to wait your turn. You're the oldest. You should wait, right? It's like all of these things that can come up, but I think it's just one of those things too, as women. I think about how, hosting a dinner party or something. I'm the last one to eat because I choose that because I want everybody else to be served and to feel welcome and be okay. Like that's I think that instinct too that comes through once
I
you.
don't know if I don't know if I would put an hour on it. I think it is a lot of women are taught that more than men. We don't tell men to
Mhm.
be the last, and
Yep.
it's fine for a man to take. And we don't say he's a taker. We say he's a leader. So
Mhm.
um, I do think it's taught to women, but there's something about there is a perk, an internal perk. It's short-lived, but like a better than, like, oh, yes, check. I let everybody first. Yes, that's a good girl. That, yes, there's a yes. And there's something that's close to the martyr thing. I'm not clear on what it is. We know martyrs, it doesn't work out. It
Mhm.
does, but the
Mhm.
reason there is such a thing as a martyr is that there's a high while you're giving, because
Mhm.
it's the mindset, what you're telling yourself.
Mhm.
And I can't tell you how many times a certain Enneagram has put everybody first. Let me make sure everybody has spoken. Let's make sure Rosalind has taught everything. And then the whole group goes late because they bring up their thing at the end, and we all have to listen because they have. So basically, it actually doesn't work out, but it looks generous. It
Mhm.
appears generous. And they
Yeah.
get a high from doing it. No matter how many times I encourage them, please, at least in this room, speak up if you have something. Take your turn. But it's very hard to break, Sherry. Do you have
Mhm.
any clues to give me? Like, is there another way to encourage people to take their turn
Burn. Yeah.
first?
When it comes to that, I think, yeah, you can see where we're patterned and around us so much in different things. I know as a military spouse, and I wrote this too, was like, I thought to be that good military spouse was the doing. And so getting the accolades for that was actually filling a part of me that was feeling a void somewhere. And for me, that showed up in my career because we had so many moves and was on this constant wheel of like another move. Can I work in? I was a respiratory therapist at the time.
Yes.
It's like I couldn't fill that void, so I had to do other things. And
Mm.
especially as military spouses, and I know I keep bringing this up because it's an old
Mm-hmm.
wound, right? It's like it's there
Mm.
because my worthiness was in the doing in that because I couldn't necessarily earn a paycheck in
Mhm.
certain
Yes.
particular duty stations because if we were overseas, the jobs just weren't there for me. And there are many military spouses that may find themselves in that situation. One thing I will say, COVID really changed the landscape with remote, um, work and stuff, which really brought a whole different aspect to it. But as far as like, I remember, in Guam, when we lived in Guam, the admiral and his wife used to tease me. It wasn't That's Lieutenant Commander Beery's wife, Sherry. It was their Sherry, Lieutenant Commander Beery's husband, their
Wow.
wife kind of thing. It was like a role reversal because I was doing so many things. And what I was finding was like it was all the titles. I was
Mm.
president of the spouses
Mm.
club. I was, chair of the book committee. I was chair, I
Mhm.
helped single sailors at
Mhm.
Navy Marine Corps Relief Society. I was the chairman of volunteers. Like
You were a doer, yeah.
I
Of
was a doer.
extraordinaire, extraordinaire.
And
So I,
so,
I love this because what you're bringing me back to with the question I gave you is I feel there's an undoing through the symptom. And what I mean is when I could have been characterized as a perfectionist, not a one on the Enneagram, but having an arrow to one. What I found that really helped the most was A, instead of hiding mistakes, telling on myself. So that it was doing the opposite. When a person never takes the best candy or cookie, it's not, or cake, it's not about the candy or the cake. It's about changing the behavior and feeling how bad it feels, how badly it feels, like
Mhm,
feeling the anxiety of breaking the pattern. So showing, oh, I made a mistake, it's on me, instead of hiding, because hiding is the shame.
mhm,
So for a person who's always the doer, right? How much anxiety would they feel if you said, okay, you're going to stop being president and the this and the that, and you're just going to be Sherry? Like you would have, like, well, who's Sherry? Like, how will I
mhm,
do this?
mhm,
So even down to picking something, I don't know if it's small or not. What if I said to you, let's say we reversed it and you were the client and you said you were telling me how you always let everybody eat first at a dinner party and that makes you
mhm,
feel good and
mhm,
you wanted to change this good bad paradigm. And I said to you, how about next time you eat first? You lead the group and you say, it's dinner time. Here's my plate. And I'm gonna go sit down and then experience what it's like to be quote unquote bad and to
mhm,
be first and to be feed yourself. I mean, it has so much symbolism there and to
mhm,
live through that. And then you don't, then it opens up the whole paradigm. It's not about the dinner and the first, it's about being present to say symbolically, oh, I could be first, I could be last, or I could be in the middle, and I don't have to live from an old paradigm, like you were saying, the patterns, that
yeah.
reasons we came up with these things. Throwing those out, whatever they are, allows us to be more present, right?
Yeah, I think you're on definitely. It is one of those things, I think we have to verbalize it and call it out when we see
And
it.
do something. We have to do something that's the
Yes.
opposite.
Yeah.
Something safe, not something huge,
Yeah.
but
No.
find the next step. And
Right.
that's what I like about coaching. In therapy,
Yeah.
I used to do it, some people did it, but we didn't always ask people to take a step.
Yeah.
And that part of coaching, I think, can be very valuable if the step is not about sales for the other person, but
Right.
for truly
Yeah.
about what the person can learn and break through. These things are all symbolic.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and I love that you bring this up because it goes back to you were asking about methods and stuff. So I have my calm method is really embedded in the book, and it's clarity for who you want to be and what you want in your life is that C. And the thing is everybody has something different, and one step is your step. Like, what is the next best step for you? It
yeah.
doesn't mean what someone else is thinking.
Yes.
It's like in your heart, in your intuition, in what you feel, even if it's scary. And that's what is slowing you down is the awareness. The A of
Mm, mm,
calm is awareness to what's slowing you down. Is it that you're not giving yourself permission?
mm,
So we peel that apart a little bit to say, I love what you're saying with this is what does that look like if you get to take your step in giving yourself permission?
mhm.
And the answers range for women. It's I would spend 10 minutes by myself drinking a cup of coffee in the morning
And feel indulgent, right?
and
And
feeling
feel,
indulgent. This is
yeah.
this is I love that we're having this conversation because that's what it is. Those are the things what we think in our minds sometimes is like when I get this all the time. Self-care. Oh, does that mean something lavish and something we're going to spend a lot of time on? No. Let's find the small things and one of the strategies in the book is like snack size rest or snack size movement. Like we always think it has to be big, but what could it be if it was just a little step kind of thing?
Well, and what I'm hearing you say, I don't know if you say it in words, I haven't come across it, but it's in the book, is turning your attention inward. And then
Mhm.
that might come to rest or action or awareness, but it's just the lens in. Someone said to me, I have to program in my schedule self-care, but it only takes a second. It doesn't take a schedule to say, am I tired? Am I hungry?
Mm,
Am I angry? Am I whatever?
yeah,
Just turn the lens around this
yeah,
way is
yeah.
everything. It enables a person to take their turn, but they can't take their turn if they won't turn the camera around. Our phones, our cameras are such great metaphors. It's
Yeah.
out, and if it's always out, it'll never be your turn, no matter how many nice people
Oh,
you have in your life.
I love that. That's so perfect. And the L, like what you just described, is learning to listen to your body. So one of those things that I always in the beginning for me, it was just that one simple question. I would take a deep breath and I would say, what do I need right now? Like, not what I need tomorrow or what do
Yeah.
I need this evening? It's what do I need in this minute? And I just do a body check in. Like, am I tired? Okay. I need to just go lay down for a few minutes, or I just need an outside time, or I need to move my body. Like, there's different easy um I won't say easy, but simple answers. Like again, make it so big. And that's where the really tapping and learning to listen to your body, because there are so many things, as you know, the stress that we take on in our day that can have us really amped up. And if we don't acknowledge, like, I just need to take a break, this day and age, I know you and I chatted about this a little bit, is like taking a break from what's going on in the world, like just being able to step away from your phone for a little bit. If it's something that's happening, you know, around political views and that kind of thing, sometimes we have to disconnect because you can feel the anxiety. You can feel, I
It's
know
contagious. It's contagious.
it's
Mhm.
so contagious. And just notice how fast it zaps our energy too.
Mhm.
That's what I
Right.
always have to really be aware of. And that's that learning to listen. And just like what you said, turning inward to find out what that answer
And the last letter?
is M, it's mindset. And my whole phrase is mindset to say yes to yourself every day. And it doesn't have to be big, it can be that small steps in it.
So there are people, because I hear it all the time, that when you say yes to yourself, selfish, selfish.
Absolutely.
No, I love what is that phrase you have in the beginning? It's wonderful. About, do you have it memorized?
Oh, is it self care isn't
Self-care is giving the world the best of you instead of what's left of you. How
uh,
great is that?
yeah.
Memorize that. If you think self-care is selfish, memorize that phrase because it has such truth in it.
And I see that reflection. What's beautiful about doing this work is when women come to the coaching calls and they say, oh my gosh, my kids actually said, Mom, you're so much happier. What are you doing? Like, or
Yeah.
they see friends and the friends are like, gosh, you look great. Even if it is, yeah, they lost some weight or they just have a different glow about them. Even a spouse who they feel, or like the woman is saying, I never feel like I get to take my turn. When she does take her turn, the spouse makes a comment about, I can see what you've done and how it's impacting you. And they all come, it takes time for all of us to see that when we do pour into ourselves that way, we show up as a better version of ourselves for everyone
And
around.
ultimately, I believe that really you're right. And along the way, this is a both and.
Hmm.
When you have roles and one of you changes your role, it kind of changes the contract. And very often people will try and put you back to your former self, the role that you took, because that's what they're used to. It's not that they don't want your good. No matter what they say, they're not used to that. You're not used to you speaking up. They're not used to you taking time for yourself. And but ultimately, what's good for you is good for everyone. Maybe not at the moment. Maybe they have to heat their dinner or fix
Hmm.
their own thing because you went somewhere. But
Hmm.
ultimately, big picture, like you said, you're coming as a better version of yourself. And I think of it kind of like I don't know if it's a tightrope, but when you've gone to the next rope, you can't really go back. You're on a new level
Hmm.
and you just have to wait it out and trust that if it's good for you and you're doing it for heartfelt reasons, it's going to it I think taking your power it means that you're being an embodiment of the divine, and it has to work out for them too, even if they don't like it. I mean, like standing in this, no matter what, I'm doing this. Because if
Hmm.
it's only if they like it, you're still back to where you were.
Yeah.
They count more than you.
Yeah. Yeah. And, Rosalind, the thing that's really kind of come full circle for me in this is hearing my own daughter. She's 23 in a PhD program. She is working really hard, but for her to say, I just need to take a break
Oh, wow.
is I need a day where I can just have like, or I need to take Saturday morning because I know I need that break.
Oh,
That makes me just realize,
you've
how many
lived it.
years did I just keep pushing through, and that does nothing but cause friction, especially in a relationship. And now I got to model it differently for her, and now
Wow.
she looks at the way she takes care of herself
Wow.
very differently than I was at that age. So that's kind of a full
That's so
circle
beautiful.
moment. And
Yes.
so I think it's a good
Yeah.
reminder for everybody to think about that, is what are the things you want your kids,
Right. But we
grandkids to
can't do it for
see.
them. We have
We
to
have to
find
do it for
it's
ourselves.
that we get to have it too. And you could
Yeah,
turn around that question for someone who came in with the role play is why do you not get to be you?
yeah,
Like you say, I don't get to be me until I deserve it. Well, who said? And like, why are you the only one who doesn't just get it because you were born? You get to
mhm,
be the embodiment that you are. And
mhm,
let someone tell you, oh, it's made up. I just thought that because I had imagined unworthiness. So, Sherry,
mhm.
this has been a great conversation. Do you want to say anything more? We'll put it in the notes about emails, and
Yeah,
they can get the free gift, how they can visit you, how
yeah.
they can have a one-to-one with you and find out which program is best for them.
Yeah, so they can visit my website at sherryberry.com. On there, you're going to see a 5-minute stress release and reset is
Up
a
in the
little.
right-hand corner, right?
Yeah. Is a little tool that I've put on there to help people, because I know we all have those moments where we don't know how to slow down, and just sometimes spending just 5 minutes making it as easy as it can be for yourself to try it. And if it works for you, great. If not, we know we just can continue to keep exploring and being curious about what it takes for you to take your turn too. So,
Curiosity. I love that you're ending with curiosity because we want answers. And
mhm,
if you have curiosity, you have everything because
mhm.
everything's going to come with the downloads when you're open.
Yeah.
And just a little memo, when you sign up on the right-hand corner, you'll put your email in, and then the 5 minute will come in your email. It isn't in that video. So you
Yeah.
get another friendly summary of what Sherry offers, and it will come in your email. Because I was looking like, where is
Yeah.
it?
We're working all that out right
Yeah,
now.
no,
So
that's
thank
fine.
you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank you, Rosalind. This has been
Uh,
wonderful to spend some time with your community, and just thank you for all the positivity that you put out into the world, and having people really, it's really important to surround yourself right now with people who see things in you that you don't necessarily see in yourself.
Yes, that's beautiful. And I know you do that, Sherry. Everybody feels
I
good when
do
they
too.
spend time with you.
Oh,
Thank you so
yep.
much. This has been so fun.
Thank
Bye
you.
for now.